That includes yawning. Right, we go to 11.3, Climate and Diversity Emergency. I'm going to invite Councillor Davies to present his motion to Council. Councillor Davies, you have 5 minutes.
Many thanks, Chair. So the motion, we've got a preamble to the motion there. I won't read it all out, but for the benefit of anyone who's watching, I'll just summarise. That the special report on global warming of 1.5 degrees C describes the enormous harm that a 2 degree C rise in global temperatures is likely to cause, compared with a 1.5 degree C rise, and that limiting global warming may still be possible with ambitious action from national and subnational authorities, civil society and the private sector. The rate of climate change is increasing, and lack of rapid action to address it is causing alarm in the scientific community. Norfolk's councils are cutting carbon emissions in their areas, but not as fast as the science demands. Broadland District Council adopted an organisational 2030 target for achieving net zero carbon emissions, but it doesn't address the wider district carbon emissions. UK Parliament and approximately 300 local authorities, that's 75%, have declared a climate emergency, recognising just how important it is in this day and age. Biodiversity is essential both to humans through the provision of ecosystem services such as food, fuel, flood prevention and enjoyment in its own right as part of the natural world. And biodiversity is under threat. It's a severe threat. Our environment is critical to our economy. Without a healthy environment, without a healthy climate, biodiversity, our economy suffers as well. So we need to bear that in mind. The Environment Act 2021 set out the importance of biodiversity net gain and approach to development aims to leave the natural environment in a better state than it was beforehand. So actions to restore nature and biodiversity are vital for their own sake and increased storage of carbon helping to address climate change. Climate change and the loss of biodiversity will change the future for humanity and should be considered in conjunction with each other. And so I'd like to propose this motion to Council. That Council recognises the dangerous and accelerating effects of unmitigated climate change and ecological destruction for Broadland, Norfolk and globally. 2. Council resolves to declare a climate and biodiversity emergency to highlight the importance and significance of climate change and biodiversity in all we do. And 3. Council resolves to act accordingly within the limits of its resources and powers and to report back regularly on progress. So I commend the motion to Council.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. I understand Councillor Holland is seconding. Do you reserve the right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Do we have anybody who wishes to speak? Councillor Wymark, please.
Chairman, I have an amendment I'd like to make. Shall I just read it now?
Would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Council recognises, well, 1, Council recognises the dangerous and accelerating effects of unmitigated climate change and ecological destruction for Broadland, Norfolk and globally. 2, Council resolves to declare a climate and biodiversity emergency to highlight the importance and significance of climate change and biodiversity in all we do. 3, Council will develop strategies during 23-24 and ongoing at Economic Success Policy Development Panel with measurable targets to support Broadland businesses to reduce their carbon footprint. 4, Council will develop strategies during 23-24 and ongoing at Environmental Excellence Policy Development Panel with measurable targets to identify areas where the impact of the Council's work can be improved, i.e. increasing recycling rates to 60% by 2025. 5, Council resolves to build upon the success of the previous administration, recognising the significant contribution the move to the Horizon Centre has made in reducing the overall carbon footprint of the Council by over 85%, with a target of net zero for the whole estate by 2025. And 6, Council resolves to act within the limits of its resources and powers and report to Council on progress at least every 6 months so that members can evaluate progress towards a target of net zero by 2030. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Walmart. Do you have a seconder? Councillor Gurney. Do you like to speak now or reserve the right?
Thank you, Chairman. I would like to reserve the right. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to open the debate to the amendment, please. Who would like to speak? Councillor Morrell?
Thank you. I fully support the amendments. The original motion did not appear to have any measurable targets, and the proposed amendment that Councillor Weinmark has put forward has very many measurable targets to be delivered against, so that we can look at how we are achieving what we set out to do. So I'm fully supportive of the amended motion.
Councillor Hempsall.
Thank you, Chairman. I had the privilege of speaking at the Net Zero Business Conference in Norfolk at Gresson Hall recently. And what I found is that it's incredibly important for businesses who are embarking on the net zero journey to have measurable targets that they can evaluate themselves both in Scope 1, at Scope 1, Scope 2 and their Scope 3 emissions. Therefore, I support the amendment because it's important that we support our businesses, that we support our economy here in Norfolk and in Broadland to ensure that they achieve their net zero targets and not just leave them waving in the wind, wondering where they stand and where they can get support from, but ensure that they can measure their improvements and how they are achieving net zero with our support. Thank you.
We've got Councillor Holland next.
Thank you. Yes, I think one of the things I would point out is I think it's already part of our policies actually to support businesses to achieve net zero. I think what we're trying to do here is to expand to not just looking at our own estate, but to work across the district. I think also I would have to say that I do accept that measures are a good way forward, but I'm not sure these are the right measures. So we would need to be careful that we have our officers' support on this and that they are aware of how we would work our way through these. And I think to suddenly sign ourselves up to a set of measures which we don't understand is probably, potentially dangerous and it actually won't help. What we have to do is make sure that what we do is actually working, that it keeps developing, and those things will change as we go along. So I don't feel really that setting up a set of measures now is going to actually help us to achieve that. I don't think it actually adds anything to the motion that we're already putting forward. So, while I understand what you're saying and I accept that measures might be a good idea, I think I won't support the amendment. I think what we have in the motion is a really good baseline for getting started on this, and other things will develop as we go along. So that's my position on this. I will support this I won't support this amendment, but I will be carrying on with the original motion. So it's not, I accept some of the things you're saying, but I do think that we need to be very careful that we make sure things are achievable and we do them in the right way.
Councillor Nurden.
Thank you, Chairman. We talked at some of the earlier motions about confusion, and I must admit when I read this thing I got a little bit confused myself, because everybody that I've spoken to is fully aware of the fact that our climate is going crazy. We've got it broadcast to us on the news, through the media, through podcasts, everything. What I'm really concerned about is, what does this statement mean for my residents and businesses? And I totally agree with what Councillor Hempsall has said about having some kind of measurable targets that businesses can work towards. I don't know what residents can do and what sort of targets we can put for residents. So that's what I'm a little confused about. But it does remind me of a song that has been going through my head since I read this. And that is something that goes along the lines of 3 empty words. You can say those 3 words to somebody and it's got meaning, they can interpret it, or you could say it with meaning and and you can do something about it, you can show it, you can demonstrate it. So this is one of the reasons why I would fully support having some kind of measurable targets that we can demonstrate our commitment to reducing carbon emissions. Thank you.
I have Councillor Mancini Boyle and then Councillor Vincent, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Interesting. I think, to quote Councillor Harpley, gesture politics. Broadland Conservatives have always been very clear, actions are key. Signing up to just words does absolutely nothing other than to create more hot air to add to the carbon issues. Look at what we've achieved. 85% reduction in carbon footprint, removal of the use of over 2 million plastic bags, best recycling rates in Norfolk, one of the best in the country, on target for 60% recycling by 2025, food waste collection to every household, additional recycling collection services, move to the Horizon Centre, EV points in car parks, Broadland growth homes with air source heat pumps, Broadland Country Park, and the Frettenham Depot refurbishment underway as well, which will be massive. So it just demonstrates this new administration, they just failure to follow up words with actions, I'm afraid. Their original motion is, it absolutely, in the words of Councillor Riley about our previous motion, says absolutely nothing.
Councillor Vincent.
Thank you, Chairman. My words are very... You've taken my thunder.
Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Sorry.
I would sum it up as 2 words, words and actions. The original motion is just words. The amended motions is actions, and I'll be supporting the amendment.
Before I invite the original proposer, Councillor Davies, to respond, do anybody else have a... Councillor Beadle.
Could I, first of all, say to the opposition, I am really pleased that a change of stance from being anti-declaring it, climate emergency to actually endorsing it, and you're actually basically now saying how it can be strengthened, how it can be improved, and coming from it from that angle. So I actually welcome that the Conservative group have now changed their stance dramatically, because they've twice voted down a motion for a climate emergency, and so I would expect them to actually support this motion before us. Thank you, Chair.
Going to wind this up with Councillor Gurney as the... Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Chairman. I seconded the amendment because I do feel, having now listened also to the comments around the room, that there seems to be a certain willingness to support a lot of what the original motion has said. However, I don't think personally it goes far enough in recording or being accountable to our residents of Broadland and our council taxpayers in particular. The 3 in the motion, original motion, says to act accordingly, and to me that just is not detailed enough whatsoever, and that's why I felt I could support the measures that we were putting forward in terms of what was being done, accountability and reporting back on a regular basis. Although it does say here they would report back on progress, but I would want more statistical analysis of what was going on. Now, I've listened to what everybody said, including what Councillor Holland has said as the leader of the council, and she does appear to show a certain willingness to accept that there has to be an audit trail in some respects of what Broadland is doing in terms of targets and aims, but that they haven't worked up a plan for this as such as yet. So I'm wondering if there is any value in asking for this motion to be withdrawn tonight to give the opposition councillors, the controlling administration, an opportunity to come back with the way in which they're going to act accordingly, a better explanation of acting accordingly, within the limits of our resources and powers, to expand on that particular bullet point number 3 and give a better timeline on how they are going to report back and which committees and panels they are going to use to progress this further. Because what we're saying here as a Conservative group is that it's at the moment very woolly what you are proposing, and we wanted to firm up how you were going to disseminate your information and how you were going to give us the statistical information that we need. So I'm just wondering if there's any way of moving that forward like that, because I think there's a common ground emerging from this, I feel, but I do think that there needs to be more detail about how you are going to move this forward. If you don't like the detail we are submitting, then please come up with the detail of how you are going to make yourselves accountable to us, because we want you to be accountable to us for this.
Thank you, Councillor Gurney. You've had
Thank
3
you.
minutes. Thank you. I'm going to invite the original proposer, Councillor Davis, to respond, please.
Many thanks, Chair, and thank you everyone for, as you say, Councillor Gurney, there is a willingness and a recognition that we are in a climate and biodiversity emergency, and that, you know, we do need to work together on this to ensure that not only this council, but we work together with our communities and with our residents, because it's going to impact us all. It is impacting us all. It's impacting us all now, as we can see in the news. And as we know from last year and the heat waves that we all experienced, and I know as a Red Cross volunteer I was supporting some of those families that were experienced the loss of their houses, and the firefighters who were dehydrated at the end of a hard-working day. So we do know what is happening now and is going to get worse. So it's good that we're going to be working together on this. I think it's really important for us to make a statement, though. It's a statement that we can say, this is what we recognise is the situation, and that we will endeavour as best we can within our limits of resources and powers to work with residents and businesses to ameliorate what is happening and is coming along. I did, maybe smile isn't the right word really, have a little smile I suppose, when you talked about supporting businesses, which we clearly have to do, because I proposed when the business builder came along at an economic success policy development panel that we should, right at the outset, in terms of supporting small businesses, support them in terms of energy efficiency, carbon emission reductions. And that was poo-pooed at the time. It was like, oh no, we don't want to overburden both our officers and businesses with all these extra things. Well, you know, we do need to consider these things right at the outset, which is why it's important to at least make that statement. When it comes to, sorry, how much time have I got? I'm okay. Just to say, in terms of targets, we need to work together with our partners. So in the Norfolk Climate Change Partnership, where I'm a representative on that partnership, we now have a programme manager to take that forward, which we didn't have before, so that we can ensure that we work more effectively together and develop those targets across the county. We do have annual carbon footprint reports. I have it here. But actually, since 2018, we've been flatlining in terms of Broadland District Council. And the figures that have been quoted is, yes, we will be working towards those targets. But I think we need to work those targets together with the officers and with our partners. But I commend this motion because we need to make this clear statement. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Councillor Wymark to sum up, please. On the amendment.
I commend the motion, not the amendment, sorry.
You can always change your mind. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you for allowing me to speak again. I didn't think I was going to get the opportunity the way we were going round there. I've proposed this amendment because I don't think the original motion actually answers or makes it accountable to us, our residents. It is, once again, as we've said before, when this has come to council, just simply virtue signalling. It's not anything meaningful or measurable. That is what I'm asking here in the motion, is to put systems in place so we can actually do that, exactly that, and make it achievable. That's what the leader has said. He wants to make it achievable. Well, you can do that within the policy development panels. As you say, that they advise the portfolio holders. That was what was said earlier on tonight. So there's no reason why, by using this structure, this motion, we couldn't take things through those policy development panels and actually work this up into a meaningful, something really meaningful for our council and for our residents. Ongoing assessment of progress is really important. Yeah. The original motion said we could do that, but when? Next year? 2 years' time? There's no metric within that. We need to have metrics, clear metrics, if we're going to have motions. We can't have just, my colleague said, woolly statements here. All right, we've got to have a structure in place so that it actually goes through the proper process. We're not just making up as we go along. I accept, I think everyone accepts, we have extreme weather events at the moment. Roads is on fire, the Canaries are on fire, there's flooding all over the place, and various sorts of. So yes, there are issues and we need to address that. However, we need as a council to be responsible in what we do and ensure that there's accountability for ourselves and therefore our residents. So I'm sorry, but I do not feel that, well, I do not understand why we could say no to this amendment. It fulfills the basic criteria. 1 and 2 I haven't changed at all. Not at all. It hasn't changed at all from the original motion. The third motion has been changed, but only to add reports to come back to council every 6 months so that it can be evaluated. That's the only thing that's really been added, apart from the bit in the middle about taking it through the panels. So essentially, you know, much of this is exactly the same, So I would be very, very disappointed and feel, using the term that's been used here many, many times, that it would be gesture politics to actually, you know, vote against this amendment. So I commend this amendment to the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wymark. I'm going to ask the members to go to vote. Are you all clear on what the amendment is?
Can we have a recorded vote as well, please?
You got a seconder for that, please? All of you? Okay.
Okay, Claire, over to you, and you may need to give me a little bit more time to add up as it's now 10:10.
Thank you. Please indicate whether you're voting for, against or abstaining. Councillor Orber. Against. Councillor Baby. Against. Councillor Beadle.
Against.
Councillor Booth.
Against.
Councillor Bowe. For. Councillor Brennan.
Has he gone?
Councillor Bullman.
He's left as well.
Councillor Catchpole. Against. Councillor Clancy. For. Councillor Copplestone. For. Councillor Crotch. For. Councillor Davis. Against. Councillor Douglas. For. Councillor Eden. Against. Councillor Emsall. For. Councillor Goodman. Against. Councillor Gurney. For. Councillor Hartley. Against. Councillor Harvey. Against. Councillor Hemsall. For. Councillor Holland. Against. Councillor Creamy-Gouvenou. Against. Councillor Laming. Councillor Leggett. Councillor Mancini-Boyle. Councillor Mear. Councillor Murrell. Councillor Newstead. Councillor Nurden. Councillor Riley?
Against.
Councillor Roper?
Against.
Councillor Royal? Councillor Starling? Councillor N. Starling? Councillor Thomas? Councillor Toval? Councillor Vincent? Councillor Ward? Councillor Yusafian? And Councillor Weinmark?
4.
So that's, in terms of the amendment, that's 14 for and 23 against. We'll now go back to the substantive motion.
Okay, we're going to go back to the original motion. Does anybody wish to speak on that, or can we go straight to the seconder? Councillor Hempsall.
Thank you. I know I spoke on the amendment, but I am extremely disappointed in the wording of this motion because it demonstrates an ignorance of what getting to net zero actually means, not just for this council, for our residents and for the businesses. Strengthening the motion with having metrics and reporting back and having clear, concise, measurable outcomes was paramount to succeeding on our journey. And just saying the words isn't good enough, because unless we can measure ourselves against something, nobody knows where we're going. Does it make any difference to the parish councils and the way they heat their halls? If you have no way of reporting, if you have no way of measuring, how will they know? You're just leaving things up to be made up as you go along, when actually there's enough data out there, there's enough guidance out there to make what you put on the table today, strengthen it and actually make it mean something to Broadland District Council. I'm voting against.
Thank you. We've got Councillor Laney next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Broadland District Council has an environmental strategy. It's undertaken a carbon audit. It's moved to a carbon neutral building. They're all really positive steps in terms of reducing carbon emissions from its estate. And I would like to thank all those who were involved in progressing these things. But more can always be done. In the Articles of the Constitution 1.3, it says the purpose of this Constitution is to enable the Council to provide clear leadership to the community in partnership with citizens, businesses, not-for-profit sector and other organisations. By declaring a climate and biodiversity emergency, Broadland District Council would be showing this sort of leadership. The council has debated this before. It concerns me that Broadland is listed now in the minority of councils who have not yet declared an emergency. So I will be supporting this motion, and I think there's no need at the moment to set out clear targets in this motion at present, because this is an administration that has only just come in and it needs to work out what is feasible first. So I commend this motion to you. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Councillor Dave Thomas next, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I think in my short 4 years on this council, I think this might be the 4th time that we've had something like this come to full council in terms of a motion based on the climate. And hearing some of the comments from the Conservative group tonight, I just think to myself, if they would have accepted the motion we passed and tried to put forward in 2019, where would we be now? I think as per normal, when it comes to Conservatives and the climate, it's always there last minute and shouting from the sidelines about it as well. Literally tonight, the head of the UN, Antonio Guterres, has said that July will be the hottest month ever recorded. I have a six-week-old daughter at home, and I'm sincerely worried what the world would look like for her in 15, 20 years, and whether we did enough, whether that's at this meetings or whether it's what you do outside of it. So I'll be supporting this motion, and I would like to encourage my councillors to do the same as well, if possible. I've heard a lot of boasts from the Conservative group tonight about what they did in the last administration for those 4 years, but without the quips towards a recent council nearby, perhaps North Norfolk, And I think you just need to remember which one of those councils changed hands in the last couple of months. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Catchpole next, please.
Thank you, Chair. Building on what Councillor Thomas has said, in Aylsham we have a climate emergency group that has set up about 2 years ago, of which I was a founder member, because the residents do not believe that the government, county or Broadland councils were doing enough, weren't doing it quickly enough. We have to listen to what our residents are saying. We need consultation. We can't dictate what these measures are yet without doing the research and finding out, you know, if our residents are further ahead than we are, we're going to have to catch up with them and listen to what their priorities are. So for me, I will be supporting this as a starting point on what I hope will be a much more rapid journey over the next 4 years at least. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Murrell, please.
Yes, I mean, just looking at the motions again, and just reading number one, just saying the council recognises the dangerous effects. It's fine to say that we're recognising it, but what does that actually mean? It just means we've recognised it. We're not doing anything apart from that. Again, resolving to declare a biodiversity climate emergency, again, we're doing it, but there's nothing, no action there. So most of this is all action, all words and no action. I still think that we need to have action and measurable action within the motion. In its current form, it is meaningless, and therefore I cannot support it.
Councillor Harvey.
Yeah, thank you. So my brother today has had to fly to Rhodes. He's a pilot to pick up people that are being evacuated because of the wildfires there. Antonio Guterres has said we're entering a era of global boiling. I just don't think people get how serious this is. This is the biggest existential threat that humanity has ever faced. And all we're asking is we declare a climate and biodiversity emergency. We can build on it from there. We can certainly build on that, get some strong foundations in, but we're lagging behind. We're lagging completely behind other councils, and it's time we got our house in order, frankly, in declaring a climate emergency, which we haven't done.
Order, please.
So in Norfolk, we're seeing crop failures, we're seeing water shortages, we're seeing wildfires, as we've already seen. It's time that we really put our money where our mouth is and actually got some policies in place. Now, we can set out the reports and the measures that we can follow up after this, but let's get the climate and biodiversity emergency declaration in place first. It's not a political thing. We need to have it for all our sakes and all our children's sakes. Thanks.
It's getting very late. We have Councillor Tovall, who hasn't spoken yet. I'm going to ask Councillor Tovall to speak, and then I'm going to wind this up, please.
It's on, isn't it? Yeah, thank you. I think actually Councillor Harvey's just said a lot of what I was going to say. I don't believe that this motion is empty words. The world is on fire. Europe is on fire. We are flooding. Global warming is coming quicker than science predicted. So while we sit here and we debate the need for metrics, which I think we all agree we will need in time, not declaring a climate emergency is just going to be a failure on the part of this administration to not accept what's right in front of us. So with that in mind, I would welcome this, and we'll be taking that forward as a council.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Councillor Holland as a seconder to speak now, please.
Thank you. I'm going to try and keep this short, actually. I understand what we're all trying to do here. I think the fact is we need to declare this a climate emergency and a biodiversity emergency because we all recognise that the world is on fire and there is a real danger we're not going to exist in 50 years' time. There's a massive, massive problem coming down there, and I know we all know that. To say it's empty words is not fair. It's not empty words. What we're saying, we're actually saying to everybody, to our residents, to the world, we accept this, we know this is happening, and we are going to do something about it, and we're letting you know that. All these metrics are fine. I said right at the beginning, I understand that we might need to do measurements. Of course we do. But we don't know where we are yet. Some of those things that we've talked about, the 85% saving of this building, we don't know that yet. We haven't got our new boilers in or our heat source pumps or whatever we're doing with it. We haven't done those measurements. Until we do those, we don't know where we are and we don't know where we're moving to. So those measurements will be built in. I think you'll find if you go to the delivery plan that we already have, it already has a lot of these policies in there about how we will report back, how will we start recording things, how we will work this out. This is semantics, and we're being silly if we don't just accept that this motion is important. It's important to make a statement that people hear that we're doing. I'm not negating everything that's been done so far. What I'm saying is we're telling everybody that we recognise just how important it is, and we will make it central to everything we do from here on. And I think we all realistically understand that. Those measurements will come. We have annual reports, we are setting targets, there's loads of stuff that's being built in, but we need to recognise where we are and then move on. So I am urging you to support this motion, because I think it's really important. It's really important for the residents to see this. It's important for the county to see it. It's important for businesses to see it. And frankly, it's important for my children and grandchildren to know that I care enough to make a lot of fuss about it sitting in a council meeting at 10:10 at night. So I do urge you all, please, support this motion. It's really very, very important, and I can't stress it any more than I have already. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Councillor Davis, would you just like to respond before we vote, please?
Yes, so I will keep it short because a lot has been said, but I just want to point out that, we recognise all the work that the officers have done, a really good amount of work, and in particular in producing the carbon footprint reports, which are annual reports. So those annual reports are coming out, and as I've said, we've been flatlining. And, the figures that are being quoted are about projected, okay? So we will see in the next report just how well we've done. And that's good, and I commend, the work that has been done before and the work that the officers are putting in to be able to move us forward. But it is making this statement, and I think of addressing the Norfolk Association of Local Councils on community energy when I was working in a community energy, community benefit society. And actually having something like this to say, this is really important for you at the parish and town council level, this is what we're committed to, and this is what you can do. And of course, what comes up then are some of the barriers to be able to move forward on issues like community energy, alternative transport, active travel, and all those kind of things. They're not specific targets, but we can develop them, and we have, the metrics as a baseline to work from. So we need to make the statement to show people across Broadland that we really mean this, that we will work and act accordingly to limit the impact on residents, businesses, and everyone in the district. So I commend this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. I'm going to go to the vote. Oh, Dan. You have a seconder?
All
those in favour? Thank you.
Right, members, please indicate whether you're voting for, against or abstaining. Councillor Orber. For. Councillor Baby.
For.
Councillor Beadle.
For.
Councillor Booth.
For.
Councillor Bowe.
Against.
Councillor Catchpole.
For.
Councillor Clancy.
Yes.
Councillor Copplestone.
Yes.
Councillor Crotch. Councillor Davis.
For.
Councillor Douglas. Councillor Eden.
For.
Councillor Emsall.
Against.
Councillor Goodman.
For.
Councillor Gurney. Councillor Hartley. Councillor Harvey.
For.
Councillor Hemsall. Councillor Holland.
For.
Councillor Karimi Gouvenlou.
For.
Councillor Laming.
For.
Councillor Mancini Boyle.
I just encourage new councillors to stop spouting lies against me.
Order, please. Councillor Mancini Boyle. Do not need comments like that.
Councillor Mear.
For.
Councillor Morrell.
Against.
Councillor Newstead.
Against.
Councillor Nurden. Councillor Riley. Councillor Roper. Councillor Royal. Councillor L. Starling. Councillor N. Starling. Councillor Thomas. Councillor Toval. Councillor Vincent. Councillor Ward. Councillor Yousefian. Councillor Wymark.
Against.
It's 23 for and 14 against. The motion's carried, Chair. What's the time? 22:26.